The night sky was calm and quiet. Stars were shining like small lights in a deep black ocean. From Earth, everything looked peaceful. People were sleeping. Cities were glowing softly. No one knew that far away in the cold darkness of space, something was moving fast toward them. Inside a small space observatory, a lone scientist sat in front of a computer screen. His name did not matter. What mattered was what he was seeing. At first, it looked normal. Just another space rock. Thousands of asteroids pass near Earth every year. Most of them burn in the sky or miss the planet by millions of miles. But this one was different. The computer suddenly made a sharp sound. The screen flashed red. Numbers started changing very fast. The scientist leaned closer. His heart started beating faster. He checked the data again. Then again, his hands were shaking. "This can't be right," he whispered to himself. The object was large, very large, and it was moving fast, too fast. He entered more data. He adjusted the angle. He checked the orbit path. The line on the screen slowly curved and then crossed a blue circle. Earth, the room felt cold. The scientist stood up and walked back slowly. He took a deep breath. His mind was racing. Maybe it was a mistake. Computers can be wrong. People can be wrong. Space calculations are complex, but the numbers did not change. The computer showed a date, 2038. The scientist picked up the phone. His fingers paused for a moment. This was not a normal call. This was not a routine report. This was a call that could change everything. He pressed the button. Far away in another city, another phone rang. A senior space officer answered. It was late. He sounded tired. "Yes," he said, "there is a problem," the scientist said. His voice was low but serious. "We have found something." The officer sat up straight. "What kind of something?" "An asteroid," the scientist replied, "and it is on a dangerous path." Silence filled the line. "How dangerous?" The officer asked slowly. The scientist looked at the screen one more time. "If our calculations are correct," he said, "it could hit Earth." The officer did not speak for a few seconds. Then he asked, "When?" 2038. That single number felt heavy, very heavy, within minutes. Lights turned on in offices around the world. Computers started running, screens filled with charts, maps, and space images. A small group of people gathered in a secure room. They were scientists, engineers, and decision makers. All of them were serious. No one was smiling. The asteroid was given a code name. Just letters and numbers, cold and simple, but the danger was very real. One scientist pointed at the screen. "If it hits," she said, "the impact will be massive." Another said, "We are still checking the size, but it could be bigger than anything we have seen in modern history." A third voice asked the question everyone was thinking. "Can we stop it?" No one answered right away. Outside that room, the world was still sleeping. People were dreaming. Children were planning their future. Planes were flying. Cars were moving. Life was normal. But in space, the asteroid did not care. It did not slow down. It did not change direction. It followed the rules of physics. Silent, cold, unstoppable. Back in the observatory, the first scientist stared at the sky through a large telescope. He could not see the asteroid with his eyes. It was too far away, but he knew it was there. He thought about his family, about the people he loved, about a future that suddenly felt uncertain. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly, because finding the asteroid was only step one. Understanding it would be step two. Stopping it would be the hardest step of all. And as Earth continued to spin under the stars, one question remained unanswered. Is this the rock that will change the fate of the planet forever? The next morning, the sun rose like any other day. People went to work. Children went to school. News channels talked about weather, politics, and sports. No one talked about the silent visitor flying through space. But inside secret space centers, fear was growing. Large screens showed the asteroid again and again. The image was not clear, just a bright dot surrounded by darkness. But the data below the image told a scary story. The asteroid was not small. One scientist zoomed in on the numbers. "We need to understand the size," he said. "Size decides everything." Another scientist nodded. "A small asteroid burns in the sky, a big one changes history." They started comparing. The computer showed the asteroid's width. It was several hundred meters wide, bigger than the tallest buildings, bigger than football stadiums, bigger than entire city blocks. One engineer spoke softly, "If this hits a city, the city will disappear." The room became quiet. Speed was the next problem. The asteroid was moving faster than a bullet, faster than any plane, faster than sound. When it enters Earth's atmosphere, it will not slow down much. "It will hit with full force," someone said. One scientist drew a simple circle on the screen. "This is Earth," she explained. Then she marked a point. "This could be the impact zone." Another voice asked, "How much damage?" The answer was not simple, but the idea was clear. If the asteroid hits land, the ground will shake like never before. Buildings will fall. Fire will rise into the sky. The air will turn hot, very hot. If it hits the ocean, giant waves will move across the planet, tsunamis taller than buildings. Coastal cities would have no chance. And this was not fear, this was math. They compared it to past events. One famous asteroid long ago had wiped out the dinosaurs. This one was smaller than that, but still powerful, powerful enough to change life on Earth. A young scientist asked, "Are we sure it will hit?" That question gave a small moment of hope. Another scientist replied, "Right now the chance is low, but not zero." Not zero, that was the problem. Even a small chance was too much when the whole planet was at risk. The asteroid's path was like a long, thin line in space. Earth was moving, the asteroid was moving, space was always changing. A tiny push from gravity, a small change in speed, and the result could be very different. Space is not stable, the scientists said. One small change can bring disaster or save us. But waiting was dangerous. As days passed, more data arrived. Telescopes from different countries joined the watch. Every hour, new calculations were made. Some were good, some were bad. Sometimes the asteroid missed Earth in the simulation. Sometimes it did not. The people in the room did not sleep much. One night, a senior scientist stood alone, staring at the screen. The asteroid looked peaceful, almost beautiful. That is the danger, he thought. It looks harmless. He remembered something his teacher once said: space does not hate us. Space does not love us. Space does not care. The asteroid had no anger, no goal, no plan, but its size made it a threat. Outside, the public still knew nothing. Social media was full of jokes and videos. Life continued, but behind closed doors, one question kept coming back again and again. How bad can it really be? The answer was always the same: bad enough. The scientists prepared a simple report, no fear words, no drama, just facts: size, speed, distance, probability. At the end of the report, one line stood out: if impact occurs, consequences will be global. Global, not one country, not one city, everyone. As the asteroid continued its long journey, it slowly became more than a space rock. It became a test of human knowledge, a test of human unity, a test of time, because now they knew the size, and knowing the size meant knowing the truth. The threat was real, and the clock was ticking. But the biggest question was still unanswered. Can humans do anything before 2038? Long before cities, long before humans, Earth was a very different place. The planet was wild and loud. Giant creatures ruled the land. The sky was clear. Life was strong. Then one day the sky changed. A bright fire appeared above the horizon. It was not a star. It was not the sun. It was something falling, fast, very fast. No one could stop it. That asteroid hit Earth with a power the planet had never felt before. The ground broke. Fire covered the land. The sky turned black, and the age of dinosaurs ended in a single moment. Earth survived, but life changed forever. Inside the modern space center, a scientist pointed to an image on the screen. "This is why we study the past," she said, "because space has no mercy." Another image appeared, a deep hole in the ground, a crater. "This crater is the proof." The scientist continued. "Earth remembers every hit." The team moved through history. In Siberia, more than 100 years ago, something exploded in the sky. Trees were crushed like toys. The shockwave traveled around the world. No crater was found. The asteroid exploded in the air. If that happened over a city today, someone said quietly, millions would be gone. Then came another story. In 2013, a bright fireball crossed the Russian sky. People stopped and looked up, some even smiled. Then the explosion came, windows shattered, buildings shook, people were injured. That asteroid was small, very small. The room fell silent again. "If a small one can do this," a young scientist said, "imagine a big one." They looked back at the new asteroid, the one coming in 2038. It was not the biggest ever, but it was big enough. One scientist said, "The danger is not just the impact." She changed the slide. "The dust," she explained, "the fire, the darkness. If the asteroid hits, millions of tons of dust will rise into the air. The sun will hide behind clouds of ash. Days could turn cold, crops could fail, animals could die. The danger would not end in one day, it could last years." Another scientist spoke. "The past shows us one thing." Everyone listened. "Earth survives," he said, "but life pays the price." That was the scary truth. Earth is strong, humans are not. Outside the building, rain started falling. Soft at first, then heavier. It hit the ground again and again like a warning. The team wondered about one thing: why now? Why this asteroid? The universe is full of rocks. Millions of them, most never come close to Earth, but sometimes paths cross, not because of fate, because of physics. Gravity pulls, orbits change, time passes, and suddenly danger appears. One senior scientist leaned back in his chair. "The past did not have a choice," he said. "We do." That was new. Dinosaurs had no space programs, no telescopes, no warnings. Humans do. This time Earth would not be surprised, but knowing is not the same as winning. History also showed failure. Asteroids do not listen, they do not stop, they do not care. As the meeting ended, one screen stayed on. It showed a timeline, from past impacts to the future. At the end of the line was one word: 2038. A scientist whispered, "We have faced this before, but never like this." Because for the first time in history, the planet knew what was coming, and that knowledge brought fear, but it also brought responsibility. The past had already written its story in fire and stone. Now the future was waiting for humans to write theirs. Will they repeat history or finally change it? Deep inside a high-security building, far away from public eyes, a silent meeting was taking place. There were no cameras, no phones, no windows, only screens, lights, and serious faces. This was not a normal meeting. This was about survival. On the main screen, the asteroid slowly moved across space. A white line showed its path. The line came very close to Earth, too close. A senior scientist broke the silence. "We cannot wait anymore," he said. "If this object changes its path even a little, we lose control." Another voice replied, "Then we must act before that happens." But acting was not easy. Stopping an asteroid is not like stopping a car. There are no brakes in space. There is no road. There is only speed, distance, and time was running. One engineer stood up and showed a new slide. "These are the options," she said. Option 1 appeared on the screen: do nothing. No one liked that option. "If we do nothing," she continued, "we depend on luck." Luck was not a plan. Option 2 appeared: change the asteroid's path. This sounded better, but how? Another scientist spoke. "We can hit it with a spacecraft." He explained it simply. A fast-moving spacecraft could crash into the asteroid and push it slightly, not destroy it, just move it. "A small push," he said, "at the right time can change everything." But there was a problem. "What if we miss?" someone asked. "What if we hit it the wrong way?" Another added, "Space is big, targets are small. One mistake could make the asteroid more dangerous." Option 3 appeared: use nuclear power. The room felt colder. "No," one scientist said quickly, "that is too risky. Nuclear explosions could break the asteroid into pieces. Instead of one rock, Earth could face many, a rain of fire." "Worse than one impact," someone whispered. The screen went dark for a moment. Then a final option appeared. Multiple missions, multiple chances, slow pushes, small changes, careful planning. This option looked safe, but it needed something very rare: time, and time was limited. The meeting continued for hours. Voices rose, then fell. Arguments started, then stopped. Not because they agreed, but because they were scared. Outside that building, the world still had no idea. People argued online, celebrities trended, new phones launched. Life moved fast, but space moved faster. Late at night, one scientist stayed behind. He stood alone in front of the screen. The asteroid looked peaceful again, silent, bright. "People think space missions are heroic," he thought. "They don't see the fear." He remembered failed missions from the past, rockets that never left Earth, signals that suddenly stopped, machines lost forever in darkness. Space does not forgive mistakes. He imagined the launch day, the rocket shaking, the fire, the silence after launch. Years of planning, one moment of truth. Back in another room, a different screen showed Earth, blue, beautiful, fragile. A scientist touched the glass. "Everything we love is there," she said softly. "Children, families, history, all of it." That night a decision was made, not final, not public, but real. They would prepare, not announce, not panic the world, but prepare. The plans would stay hidden. The missions would stay quiet. The work would continue in shadows, because fear spreads faster than facts, and hope works best in silence. As the building lights turned off one by one, the asteroid continued its journey. It did not know about the plans, it did not know about meetings or fear. It just moved, straight, fast, unstoppable, for now. And somewhere between Earth and that silent rock, humanity stood at a turning point, not as rulers of space, but as students trying to survive their final test. Because the real question was no longer, is the asteroid dangerous? The real question was, are humans ready to face it? No alarms rang that morning, no warning lights flashed in the sky. The world woke up like always. People checked their phones, children rushed to school, traffic filled the roads. The sky looked normal, blue, calm. No one knew this day would be remembered forever. Far above Earth, the asteroid had entered the final stage of its journey. It was no longer just a rock in space. Now it was a falling weapon pulled by Earth's gravity, faster every second, hotter every moment. In a control room, scientists watched in silence. No one spoke. Every screen showed the same thing. Impact time, hours remaining. One scientist whispered, "This is it." High in the sky, a bright light appeared. At first, it looked like a shooting star. Some people stopped and pointed. "Make a wish," someone joked. They had no idea. The light grew brighter, much brighter. The sky began to glow. The air felt strange. Birds flew away, animals panicked. Then came the sound, a deep roar, like the sky was tearing apart. Windows started shaking. People looked up in fear. Phones came out. Videos started recording. The asteroid hit the atmosphere like a hammer. The heat was unreal. The surface of the asteroid burned. Pieces broke off, turning into fire. The sky turned orange, then white. One final second, everything changed. Impact, the ground exploded. A shockwave moved faster than sound. Buildings collapsed like paper. Roads cracked open. Cars flew into the air. People were thrown to the ground before they could even scream. Fire followed. A wall of heat spread across the land. Trees caught fire instantly. The air burned lungs. The sky turned dark as dust and smoke covered the sun. Miles away, people felt the ground shake. They did not see the impact, but they felt it, a fear deep in their bones. In the ocean, the story was different, but just as deadly. The asteroid slammed into water with unstoppable force. The sea rose like a mountain, waves taller than buildings moved toward the land. Cities near the coast had minutes, only minutes, no escape, no shelter, only fear. The world's communication systems failed. Satellites went silent. Power grids collapsed. The modern world built on technology suddenly went dark. Night came early and it stayed. Ash filled the air. The sun disappeared behind a thick gray sky. Days became cold. Crops stopped growing. Food became rare. Survival was no longer about comfort. It was about life. In a dark room, one scientist sat alone. Tears ran down his face. We knew, he said, we knew, and it still happened. Earth did not break, but humanity did. Weeks passed, then months. The dust slowly settled. The sun returned, weak but visible. Some life survived. Some people survived. Earth healed. It always does, but scars remain, deep scars. History would remember this not as a space event, but as the moment humans understood how small they truly are. Back in the present, the vision faded. The scientists in the meeting room sat in silence. The simulation ended. The screen went black. No one spoke because they had just seen the future. A future that must never happen. One voice finally broke the silence. We cannot let this be real. Everyone agreed because now they knew the truth. If the asteroid hits, Earth survives, but the world they know will not, and that made the mission clear. Stop the asteroid or watch the end of the age of humans. The room was quiet. Not the calm kind of quiet, but the heavy kind. The kind that comes before a final decision. Every person in the room knew one thing clearly. There would be no second chance. On the main screen, the asteroid moved slowly, like it was watching them, like it was waiting. A senior engineer spoke first. "We have reached the last stage," he said. "If we fail now, there is nothing after this." Everyone understood this was not about science anymore. This was about courage. The plan was simple in words but dangerous in reality. Send a spacecraft, hit the asteroid, change its path just enough so it misses Earth. Just enough. Too little and nothing changes. Too much and the asteroid breaks apart. Either way, disaster. A young scientist asked the question no one wanted to ask. "What are the chances?" The engineer did not lie. "Low," he said, "but not zero, not zero again." That small hope was all they had. The spacecraft was built quietly. No news, no announcements, no celebration. It was not a mission for fame. It was a mission for survival. Years passed as the asteroid moved closer. Every day, the calculations changed. Every day the pressure grew. On launch day the sky was clear, too clear. The rocket stood tall on the launch pad, white, silent, powerful. Inside the control room, hands trembled over buttons. Voices were calm, but hearts were not. 10, 9, 8, no one breathed. 3, 2, 1, fire exploded beneath the rocket. The ground shook. The spacecraft rose slowly, then faster, cutting through the sky. It was gone. Now came the hardest part. Waiting. Months passed. Then years. The spacecraft traveled through endless darkness. Alone, silent, one small machine carrying the hope of billions. Finally, the moment arrived. The spacecraft saw the asteroid, a dark, massive shape, cold, ancient. It looked unbeatable. The computer calculated the final path. There was no room for error. Signal delay is long, one scientist said. We cannot control it in real time. Once the command was sent, it could not be taken back. The room held its breath. "Send the command," the director said quietly. The button was pressed. Far away in deep space, the spacecraft moved, faster, closer, then impact. The screen went white, then static, silence. Seconds felt like hours, then new data appeared. The asteroid's path changed. Just a little, but enough. Cheers did not come. Smiles did not appear because it was not over yet. The asteroid was still moving. Earth was still in its path. Days passed, then weeks. Every new calculation brought tension. Then one morning the result was clear. The asteroid would miss Earth, not by much, but it would miss. The room broke into tears. Grown adults cried like children. Some laughed, some sat down, unable to stand. Humanity had done it not by force, not by power, but by thinking ahead, by working together, by acting in time. Outside, the world still did not know. People continued their lives, unaware of how close the end had come. And maybe that was for the best. The asteroid passed Earth quietly, a silent visitor, a reminder. That night, one scientist looked at the sky. "We won this time," he said softly. But he knew the truth. This would not be the last asteroid. This would not be the last test. The universe is big and humans are small, but now they had proven one thing. When facing the darkness together, humanity does not give up. When the danger started, fear did not come from space. It came from people. In a quiet office, a man stared at his phone. His screen was full of headlines. Earth in danger. Asteroid could end life. 2038, the final year. None of these headlines told the full truth. Fear spreads faster than facts. Inside newsrooms, editors argued. "Fear brings views," one said. "Calm does not." So the words became louder, darker, more dramatic. Images of fire and destruction filled screens around the world. People started asking questions. Is this real? Should we be scared? Is this the end? But the truth was more complex. Inside the Space Center, scientists watched the same news. They felt tired, not from work, but from misunderstanding. One scientist shook his head. "We don't need panic," he said. "We need trust." The asteroid was real, the risk was real, but fear was making it bigger than it was. On one screen, probability numbers appeared, small numbers. Honest numbers, but numbers do not scare people. Stories do. On social media, false videos appeared, fake experts, loud voices. Some said governments were hiding the truth. Others said nothing was real at all. Confusion grew, fear grew. A psychologist joined the discussion. "Humans fear what they cannot control," she explained. "Space feels endless. That makes people feel powerless. Powerlessness turns into panic, and panic turns into chaos." But the truth stayed calm. Scientists spoke quietly, clearly. "The asteroid will pass," they said. "We are watching it. We are prepared." Still, fear listened to louder voices. One night, a scientist sat alone thinking, why do people fear space so much? He wondered. Then he understood. Space reminds humans of something they hate to accept. They are not in control, not of time, not of nature, not of the universe, and that truth is uncomfortable. But fear is not always bad. Fear makes humans act. Fear makes humans prepare. Fear makes humans survive. The problem begins when fear replaces truth. The asteroid passed Earth safely. Most people never noticed. Life continued. The headlines slowly disappeared. New fears replaced old ones, but inside the Space Center, something had changed. The scientists knew one thing now: the real battle was not only in space, it was in the human mind. Education mattered. Truth mattered. Calm voices mattered, because the next danger would come one day, and when it does, fear and truth will fight again. Only one should win. One scientist looked at the stars and smiled. Space is not our enemy, he said. Ignorance is. The universe is dangerous, but panic makes it deadly. Truth makes it manageable. As Earth moved silently through space, humans faced a choice they would face again and again: fear or understanding. And the future would depend on which one they choose. The asteroid was gone. It moved past Earth quietly, without sound, without fire, without fear. To the universe, it was just another rock following its path. To humanity, it was a warning written in silence. Earth continued to spin, oceans moved, winds blew, life went on. Most people never knew how close the world had come to disaster. They woke up, lived their lives, and slept under the same stars, unaware that those stars had once carried danger. Inside the Space Center, the screens were finally calm. No red lines, no alarms, just numbers confirming one simple truth: Earth was safe. A senior scientist leaned back in his chair. His hair had more gray now, his eyes showed years of pressure. "We got lucky," he said softly. Luck had played a role, but not alone. Human effort mattered, preparation mattered, science mattered. This event answered the question many had asked in fear: will Earth survive an asteroid? Yes, but not because Earth is weak or strong, because humans chose to act. One scientist walked outside and looked up at the night sky. It looked peaceful again, beautiful, but now he saw it differently. Space was not just a place of wonder, it was also a place of risk. The universe does not promise safety, it only offers chances, and humans had taken one. He remembered the past: dinosaurs, ancient impacts, destroyed worlds. Earth had seen destruction before. Life had fallen, risen, and changed. This time was different. For the first time in history, a species had looked at the sky and said, "We see you, and we will prepare." That was the real victory, not technology, not rockets, but awareness. The asteroid of 2038 became a lesson, a reminder that progress is not only about building cities or machines. It is about protecting the future. Governments slowly shared the truth with the public, not with fear but with honesty. People listened, some felt scared, some felt proud, some looked at the sky with new respect. Children asked questions, schools taught about space safety. Telescopes became tools of defense, not just discovery. Humanity had taken its first real step into cosmic responsibility. But one truth remained clear: this was not the last asteroid. Space is full of them. The next one could come in 10 years, or 100, or tomorrow. The difference now was simple: humans were watching. A scientist wrote a final line in the report: the danger did not end, but neither did our readiness. Earth is small, but human thinking is powerful. As long as people look up, study the stars, and respect the universe, survival is possible. The final answer was not written in numbers or simulations, it was written in choice. When faced with the darkness of space, humanity chose light. And that choice may be the reason Earth continues to exist, under the endless sky, spinning silently, alive.